Well, we're here at the workbench with Tommy Derringer down from St. Augustine area. And you catch a lot of tarpon up there. A lot of people don't know that you can catch tarpon all the way from one end of the state to the other.
We do, you know, we catch a lot of tarpon, and we catch some really big tarpon.
Yeah,
catch some really big fish up there. So it's, yeah, tarpon fishing's good up that way.
That's what I'm after. If I'm after a tarpon, I'll tell you a big one.
Small ones are fun too.
Well, when you're up there, where do you guys start out? When's your season and everything?
It could start as early as this month. Usually by the end of this month, we start seeing some of those bigger fish move in along the beaches. And that's this time of year, moving into middle summer. Then we get into the later summer, the bigger mullets start to move in, and we'll fish some of the inlets and a little bit more inshore. Those big fish tend to stay out on the beach until those big mullets show up.
So are you just using the bait that you're catching them around?
Yeah.
Like if it's pogie time, you use pogies?
Pogie time, use pogies. If there's mullet around, use mullet. Although sometimes you can switch it up a little bit if both are around, just to see, you know, sometimes something a little different might look good to them too.
I gotcha. But live bait is really what you're going to use most of the time?
Live bait is going to work most of the time.
What kind of gear do you use? I see you got a 20-pound spinning rod.
Yeah, so you can use some conventional gear, but I like to be able to be ready to make a cast. So I'll use a pretty heavy spinning outfit, use 30-pound, 40-pound braid to maybe a 40-pound fluorocarbon leader if the water's clear. If it's not so clear, you know, you can beef it up to 60, 80-pound leader. You know, if you're fishing behind those shrimp boats, which is another really fun thing to do for those tarpon in St. Augustine or in all of Northeast Florida. You can beef it up to 100-pound, or you can. Some guys even use wire.
Because when they're just snacking in the chum,
they're
they don't
fired
care.
up, man. They don't. Yeah, they're eating anything that they can get their mouths on. So, yeah, start off low, light. If it's clear water, if it's nasty, murky water, just beef it up.
And you're gonna use a circle hook?
Using a circle hook, I like to use a VMC. This is the 7385 circle hook. And then just make the size kind of appropriate to the bait you're using. You know, if you're using a big giant mullet, you might use a 10 or 12-aught, maybe even.
Well, I snelled that one. Do you usually use a snell or use a loop?
You know, I like to use a loop knot, and it's personal preference. A lot of people like the snell. From what I've always heard, and I've had really good success with that loop knot, it seems to get them right in the right spot. But circle hook is the way to go, you know, no matter how you tie it on there.
I got you. Well, I see you have a slip shot on there too, a split shot.
Right.
Now, what are you using that for? Are you trying to keep the bait in a certain place in the water column, or?
Yeah, so I use these big split shots because it's easy to change it up. So when we're fishing those pogie pods, if you're wanting to get underneath the pogies, you can add a couple of these big split shots, maybe a foot or two above the hook or the bait.
Right.
And then, you know, if they start getting up to the surface and feeding again, you can take them right off and pitch it to them. It's pretty versatile. I don't use a swivel or anything. I keep it simple.
You just wind it on in?
Yeah. I mean, it's just, and that's split shot. It makes it really easy to change your presentation really quick, which you need to do in tarpon fishing.
Now, are you hooking them up through the lips, or are you hooking them in the back, these baits, or does it matter?
It matters. I think, you know, you hook them through the back. Sometimes they'll swim down a little better, or towards the tail behind that dorsal fin. And then through the lips if you're up towards the top. But usually for me, it's either through the lips or through the nose. I
gotcha. Now, there's some artificial stuff out here. This is the kind of thing that you're using. You said that some fellows will pitch a hoagie bait at them. Yeah,
you know, I've used these hoagies a few times. They're, you know, I don't know what that's supposed to look like. We were talking about that earlier, but the tarpon seem to like it.
I guess it could be anything from an eel to a 6 or 8 inch little whiting or something, or a croaker, I guess it could look like.
So, you know, this one's rigged weightless and weedless. You know, you don't really need the weedless, but the weightless is going to keep it up top if those fish are up top.
Right.
They also make it where, you know, it's got they've got a heavier jig head here. So if the fish are down below the bait that you're fishing, you know, that's going to be a great bait.
And I was surprised there that you had that guy out here.
The bait buster?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, so you know, this bait, I think it works pretty much everywhere in Florida. There's tarpon. Everybody
it works for everything, really.
It really does. But the thing you got to do with this is keep it simple again. Cast it out, reel it straight in. You don't want to really jig it too much. Those tarpons seem to really key on in the bait when it's just going straight.
Right.
You know, so just cast it and reel it. Don't jig it too much.
Yeah, Captain Bouncer Smith showed me that one time. He says, just throw that mirror lure out there and reel it back to the boat. Don't jig it, don't move it, just roll it straight.
Keep it simple.
That's right.
That's the best way to do it.
Well, thanks, man. That was awesome.
Yeah, man. Thank you.
It can't be that. Don't tell me. It can't be that easy. Just keep it simple.
Just reel it back.
Just reel it.
Reel it back.